1965 was a bad year, and when I went to the Southeast Asian Games, Southeast Asian Peninsular Games, at that time it was called SIEP Games, I ran 100, and I think I was only 4th, because I was so unfit. There was no training, and I had been injured so many times that year. Because if you're not well trained, I'll just go for a competition on the weekend, and then I'll pull a hamstring muscle, then I'll recover, and 2 weeks later there'll be another competition, and I'll pull the hamstring on the other side, and the whole year was spent like that. So when I went there, it was a failure. Yeah. But fortunately, things turned out well. The following year, our parents, at least my parents, accepted this. We got married, and then I went to the Asian Games in 1966, and I lost the gold medal by 0.01 seconds. There wasn't much to juggle or sacrifice. Yeah, many people have asked me about what sacrifices I had made, but I can't think of anything that I sacrificed. My job at this Sport Singapore is in a department called Team Singapore Community Outreach, and my colleagues, they look after the present athletes. So my job is to look after the past athletes. SG50 is about connecting with the past. For me, it's connecting with the past. So that is my form of community outreach. Going to schools is also another form of community outreach. I have to get more of my generation athletes to do this, okay? But I'm trying to. The first step I've done is I'm trying to get the pioneers to join me at the museum, so that when visitors come, they can share short portions of their life in any section of the museum. So there's another form of community outreach. So I am trying to get the past to do this. At the same time, we are also reaching out to the past athletes who have represented Singapore, trying to give them some benefits. So the first set of benefits is this. This is for the pioneers, those who are above 65 years old. So benefit is this. They all can go into the Sport Singapore swimming complexes and gyms free of charge. So that's good, isn't it? So this is community outreach. So another thing that we are supposed to do is this. We want to show that, hey, there is a pioneer athlete living near you. We are telling the community. Maybe they don't know, So we want the community to know that, hey, these are the men and women who represented Singapore in sports. There may be others in music and everything else, but that's not our job. Our job is to make sure that the people who did something for sports in Singapore are known to the community. And maybe the community can do something for them, and they can do something for the community. And that way there's more meaning for this SG50. There have been some people who have shown good friendship. Yeah. Yesterday there was a book published, and in there they mentioned a story that I had mentioned to them, and this is something that happened in 1968 at the Olympic Games. I am the only athlete from track and field. There was one shooter and 2 weightlifters. So only 4 of us were at Mexico City for the Asian Games. And so I had to look after myself. I didn't have a coach with me or anything. So everything I had to do myself. So one day I was in the Games Village track. At the Games Village, there's usually a track where you can also do some training or whatever. But that day there was nobody on the track. I think the others have been assigned to other venues for their training. So I was on my own, and it was getting hotter in the morning, and I'm doing my starts all by myself. So I do one start and I walk back. Then one more and walk back, all by myself. And then there was this guy standing by the side of the track, and he was observing me. He was leaning against the lamppost and he was observing me, and I was wondering, hey, why is this guy watching me? And I can recognize him. He was Tom Robinson of the Bahamas, and in 1966 he was second in the Commonwealth Games. So I could recognize him, but of course, I'm a nobody at that level. But after a few of these starts, he came up to me and he told me about he said first of all that I was very, very fast coming out of the blocks, but he said that I have to be more relaxed. So he said I was very tense coming out. He didn't have to come out there and say this, but can you imagine, he's such a high level athlete and I'm just a very low level athlete, compared to them, and then yet he came up to give that kind of advice. So there are moments like this that I can remember, and it is significant enough for me to think about it, and maybe some of that could have rubbed off on me. In our track team, there are many young men and young women who have potential. I think the degree of potential also could differ. Some may have, really something that will really get them to Asian Games championship levels, and then some, not sure whether they can reach Asian Games gold medal level, but this is something that you can never predict. You can think, because of the way they run and run so well at a certain age without very much training and so on. So yes, there are boys and girls, but then they have to stay long enough. Our biggest problem in Singapore is they don't stay long enough, because track and field is not like gymnastics or swimming where you can improve and reach high performances very early. Track and field, you just need to grow. Your bones need to grow, the muscles need to grow, the joints need to be strengthened. All that takes time. You really have to mature before you can start the hard training. You can't start hard training when you are 15, 16, 17, isn't it? Then you might damage. You are still in the growth period, and so you just need to of course everybody is in the growth period at that age, but like swimming, you are not putting pressure on the joints, isn't it? So for athletics, for track and field, you just have to give the time. And so that's why I said just now, they don't stay long enough. You don't want to show off, but at the same time inside you say, wow, it's something good, something accomplished. And then although you feel like you are in cloud nine, you very quickly you have to come back to reality, because don't forget I was a teacher. So as soon as all the celebrations are over, you got to start thinking, hey, where am I going now? Back to class, back to school, and then and then reorganize training and working and family and so on. Yeah, so I also feel very relieved that okay, I have done something, not to have let down all the people around me, like my family and my coaches, then my colleagues in my working place, because I'm sure when I leave to go somewhere, somebody has to do my part of the work in school. And so if you have success, I feel like that. Yeah. And if I did not get success, then I will feel very, very disappointed. Yeah, very disappointed, and sometimes I scold myself. But so this is the 1966 Asian Games. I had qualified to represent Singapore. This was in Thailand, Bangkok. In the heats, I was first, and then the next round, the semi-finals. In my semi-finals, I was first, and the next day was the finals. And we all came out and warmed up together, and then went into the stadium and onto the blocks. The gun goes off, and I'm in front. So in those days, I was the fastest starter in Asia. 50 meters, I'm in front. 80 meters, I'm in front. 90 meters, I'm in front. 99 meters, I'm still in front, but I can hear runners coming close, and then the race was over. And then, of course, the judges had to decide who is first, who is second, who is third. It was going to be between the three of us. Dr. Jaga from Malaysia, Gino, this is, what is the Japanese name? Wow, I forget the name now. I will get back to you. And the Japanese sprinter, and me. And at the end, the Japanese sprinter was slightly behind. So between the two of us, the difference was 0.01 seconds. But the judges took a long time to decide. Although the photo finish was there, they could not decide whether it was Jaga or me who had won. The rule says they have to look at the torso. Torso. Torso means chest and shoulder. But the year before the Asian Games, in 1965, the rule for that judging had changed. The International Athletic Federation had changed the rule to include the neck as part of the torso. And so maybe that's why they took such a long time. They were trying to decide on those 1/100th of a second line on that photo finish. I will later show you the finish. And when they looked for the neck, it was Dr. Jaga's neck which was in front. So he won the Asian Games gold medal, and the difference was 0.01 seconds. But in 1969, just after the 1968 Olympic Games, the International Athletic Federation also again changed the rule, and they went back to the old rule where the neck wasn't part of the torso. So people said that I was very unlucky not to have got the Asian Games gold medal, because if they had looked at the shoulder, then my shoulder was slightly in front of Dr. Jaga. But what I like to tell people is this. What was our relationship like, even though we are competitors at this high level? And for that, there's something written in the newspapers in 2007. Dr. Jaga was interviewed 44 years after that incident. And then in a paragraph there he says that Kunalan and I shared a very strong rivalry during our competitive days, but we were friends off the track and still remain good friends till this day. And so somebody wrote that, you see, and I think that is that's a good thing about high level competition. It gives you a chance to show, yes, you want to show excellence, you have trained very hard, you have made many sacrifices, you want to go there and you want to win, but when you have won or when you have lost, how do you behave? Yeah, so I'm glad that after the race, I know Jaga and me, we were sitting on a bench waiting for the results to come out. We were inside the stadium sitting, waiting. And he was telling me about his training and the sacrifices that he had made. And in my heart of hearts, I felt that he should win. I didn't mind. I didn't mind losing or anything. Because I know him very well, and I just wanted the results to be that he is the winner and I'm second. So that is that incident. A few things happened that that might have affected the way I would have felt if these things had not happened. And so this is what happened. I am in the tunnel waiting to come out into the stadium itself, run around the track and run up the steps and light the cauldron. But as it was getting near the time for me to get out into the stadium, the people in charge of the torch said that, okay, now we have to make the flame really impressive. Because in those days they did not have gas canisters. It is fuel and wick, cotton wick and fuel. So they took off the cotton wick, pour in more fuel, put back the wick, and lit the cotton wick. And then the flame was really nice and big because the wick was new and the fuel was full. And then the flame was very nice and huge. And then they say, okay, now it's time for you to go out. And I come out, and as I am coming around the bend, something unusual happened. All the spectators were throwing their sun visors. They in their goodie bag they had these nice visors because they came early, and these things were falling all around me. And there's a photograph given to me by one of my students. We showed all these white things all around me. So as I'm running around, these things were flying from the spectator stands, and I'm getting worried now. So I got no time to think about how grand this is to be the final torch bearer. I'm worried that these things might hit me or might hit the flame, and what's going to happen? But they don't know that this could happen, isn't it? And so I go around the bend, and then now I'm in front of the grandstand, and the president is there, and the wind was blowing down the track, facing the the 100 meters, and the wind is blowing this way, and then the flames just came down. Because it's so big, and it came down and burned my hand, and it kept burning my hand each time I ran on. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what can I do now? I should go back and get this flame adjusted. But at the same time, I think, how can you go back now? And so, all those feelings of grandiose feeling that, wow, I'm the only one carrying the torch. There's nothing there. I'm worried now whether I can go through with this. So there's a video clip showing me doing this, trying to keep it away from my hand. Anyway, I carried on running around the other bend and then go up the steps. And then when I reach the steps, just as I'm getting up to the cauldron, the guys who are in charge, they're all hidden because the spectators can't see them. They're hidden there, and then they say, okay, when you go up there, stand in front of the cauldron, stand beside the cauldron and salute the crowd. And so I go up there and I stand in front of the crowd, and my hand is really painful. And then they said, they had told me earlier that I should not dip the torch into the cauldron until they give me the signal, because below the cauldron there is a gas tank, and then they have to turn on the gas, and as the gas fills the cauldron, if I put the flame there, then it will burst into the cauldron will light. And so then they gave me the signal, and I dipped, and then the flame, the cauldron burst into flames. And then they said, then you must stand there and salute the crowd once again before you come down. And now I'm up there, and the cauldron is, the flames in the cauldron are huge, and the wind is blowing it all around, and here my hand is hurting, and then I'm worried that these flames will come and burn me. So all these thoughts are there, but I think I did it in the best dignified manner I could manage this, and then I came down. So that was my experience. Actually, all those years that the record was standing there, I never gave it any thought. There was no feeling of no feelings at all. Well, the record is set, yes, fine. You just keep on training and hope that you can improve. Okay, and then of course all through the years there were very talented sprinters who could have broken it also, but as I said right at the beginning, sometimes they don't stay long enough, or some things happen to them, and then the record does not get broken. But I tell you, before Sham broke it, there was an athlete. I became a national coach for a short period, from 1993 to 1997. I was invited by the general manager of Athletic Association, Mr. Ong, to say, hey, come, you got to help us, because we are hosting the SEA Games in 1993. And so I came in and I got a few sprinters, and one of them was really good. His name was Muhammad Hosni. He had run below 10.5 electronic timing 10 times, 10.4 something, 10.4 something, 10 times. Nobody has done that. He was the best. Unfortunately, there were so many things that happened that he did not stay for another year. If he had stayed for another year, he could have broken all sorts of records. But he did break one of my records, one of my 100 meters records, and that is the hand timing. You have hand timing, and you have, this is called manual timing, and the other is the electronic timing. So only the electronic timing are recognized now. But in those years when the electronic equipment was not so common, the manual timing was also recorded in our records. And so my timing for manual timing was 10.3 seconds. And Muhammad Hosni, one day in one of the competitions, he ran 10.2 seconds. And that is manual timing. And he could have gone on and broken my electronic timing very, very soon after. But as I said, he ran below 10.5, electronic timing 10 times. So he was very close to it. Then come Sham. Sham used to come and train at where I was working. At that time it was called School of Physical Education at Bukit Timah campus. And he would come to my office, he would put his bag down in my office, and then we would sit and chat for a while. This is coming from his National Service office. I think he was not a combat personnel or anything. He was a clerk while doing National Service. But he would come and use my office as his locker room, and use our gym and use our track for training. But by the time I would have it would have been time for me to go home already after my work. But I'll make sure that my office door is not locked, so that he could keep his belongings there. And then I would tell the guard to leave the back door. The front door will be closed, but the back door will be always open, so that Sham could come back up to my office, take his belongings and leave. And so he will do his track training, and then he will go up to the 4th floor at our gym, and he will do his gym work, and so on. So, and then while sitting in the office chatting with me before his training would start, there were several times when he said to me, "Sir, one day I'm going to break your record." And a few years later he did. So I have no sad feelings that Sham broke it, because I know how hard he worked. I wouldn't have felt sad if Muhammad Hosni had broken my electronic timing, because I know how hard he worked also. Both of them were such dedicated athletes. They had their own styles, but they worked very hard. So anyone who can break a record must have worked very hard to break it. And so we as record holders will only feel gladness for them.